Silicon Valley, as we know today, is home to the world's largest tech companies that have greatly influenced our everyday lives. Its association with the technology industry runs so profound that any tech community situated outside the United States is often referred to as Silicon Valley. For instance, Bangalore in India has earned the moniker Silicon Valley of India due to its status as the home to the several of the world's leading high-tech companies. You will be surprised to know that if Silicon Valley were a country, its per person GDP would make it the second richest in the world, just behind Qatar. According to the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, in 2017 it had a per capita income of $128,308, while Qatar's had around $128,647. In 2017, it had an estimated output of around $275 billion, which was higher than that of Finland. For many billionaires, Silicon Valley has become their playground, and no wonder half the world's tech billionaires lives in Silicon Valley. But have you ever wondered how the valley, known for the abundance of apricots, cherries and prunes, became the centerpiece of tech innovation? How did it earn the name Silicon Valley? And more importantly, who are the key figures that laid the foundation for its transformation? From its humble beginning as a land of fruit orchards to the bustling takeoff it is today, Silicon Valley has a rich past and its journey has been nothing short of remarkable. Before it became the epicenter of the tech world, Silicon Valley was known as the Valley of Heart's Delight. This nickname originated from its abundant fruit orchards, which were the backbone of the region's agricultural economy. The region was so fertile that at one point it produced 30% of the entire world's supply of popular fruits, including apricots, plums, and most famously prunes. As the years went by, the agricultural industry in the valley began to face challenges. The increasing land prices and labor costs made it difficult for the agricultural industry to remain profitable. And that is when the transformation of Santa Clara Valley from an agricultural hub to a tech hub started to begin. Among many other things that shaped the history of Santa Clara Valley, Stanford University and Frederick Torman played a central role in its transformation. Torman was the dean of the School of Engineering from 1944 to 1958 and served as its provost from 1955 to 1965 at Stanford University. He had established a very close relationship with the Department of Defense, and that helped him secure more grants to fund Stanford's research project. Under Torman's leadership, the engineering faculty grew in size and prestige, making it a powerhouse of research and innovation. It is because of his effort Stanford was and still is recognized as the world's first-class educational institution. This helped him to attract and nurture some of the world's best minds, including William Hewlett and David Packard, who founded HP, which would later become the largest personal computer manufacturer in the world and transform the home printing market with its thermal drop-on-demand inkjet printer. The major turning point came in 1951 when Torman created Stanford Industrial Park as a joint initiative between Stanford University and the city of Palo Alto. The idea behind the park was simple: lease some of the Stanford's land area to high-tech companies to support entrepreneurship and employment for Stanford's graduates. Torman's effort really paid off. In 1953, the park got its first tenant, Varian Associates, a maker of military radar components, which was founded by Stanford alumni. HP, which was also founded by Stanford graduates Bill Hewlett and David Packard, also moved its office into Stanford Industrial Park and established its world headquarters there in 1956. In addition to HP and Varian Associates, Eastman Kodak, General Electric, and Lockheed Martin all had their roots in the collaborative environment nurtured by Torman and Stanford University. Stanford Industrial Park, which is now known as Stanford Research Park, fulfilled Torman's mission of attracting intellectual minds from across the country. And one such talent was William Shockley, who established the very first factory working on silicon semiconductors in the Santa Clara Valley. The birth of the silicon-based semiconductor industry marks the beginning of the transformation of Santa Clara Valley to Silicon Valley. Before delving further into the history of Silicon Valley, let us take a moment to explore the significance of semiconductors, as the name Silicon Valley is directly derived from the material used in their production, and that is silicon. Semiconductors are materials that possess unique electrical properties, sitting right between conductors like metals and insulators like rubber or glass. Because of this unique property, semiconductors can conduct electricity under certain conditions and inhibit it under others, making them perfect for controlling the flow of electric current. From smartphones and computers to televisions and automobiles, semiconductors are the unsung heroes behind these gadgets. Thanks to the advancement in semiconductor technology, we have witnessed a remarkable transformation in technologies that touch every aspect of our lives. High-speed internet, the development of 5G network, the growth of AI and machine learning, and the evolution of virtual reality like the metaverse are just a few areas that have become a reality because of innovation in semiconductors. But the interesting fact here is that silicon was not always the first choice of material for semiconductor manufacturers back then. Before silicon, germanium used to be the dominant material in the semiconductor industry. But there were two major problems in its use that led to the widespread adoption of silicon as the preferred material for semiconductor manufacturing. Number 1. Lower heat resistance. Unlike silicon, which can withstand up to 150 degrees Celsius, germanium has a heat resistance capacity of only 70 degrees Celsius. Just to give you perspective here, a CPU in an ideal situation generates heat of around 40 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. But the amount of heat increases when the CPU is under heavy load or during intense computational tasks. This makes germanium-based semiconductors prone to breakage and unreliable performance. Number 2. Low supply. Silicon comes from silica sand, which is abundant in supply. Germanium, on the other hand, is very scarce. Because of its rarity, germanium wafers are costlier to manufacture in mass than silicon wafers. Now you know why silicon became the first choice of material for semiconductor manufacturers. Let's get back to William Shockley, who paved the way for this transition. Shockley initially worked at Bell Labs, where he co-invented a transistor. While many contemporary scientists use germanium as the semiconductor material, Shockley believed that silicon was better for making transistors. So in 1955, Shockley moved to Mountain View, California and started Shockley Semiconductor Laboratory. The lab would be the first semiconductor lab to work on silicon semiconductors. To support his work, Shockley also recruited a group of young PhD graduates. But things went differently than planned. Shockley's design of the silicon-based semiconductor was promising, but it was so complex that it was not as reliable as germanium-based semiconductors. As a result, Shockley and his team failed to mass-produce silicon semiconductors. But that was not the only obstacle they faced. Shockley, as brilliant as he was, had a management style that was rather authoritative and demanding. This approach unintentionally sparked tensions and disagreements among his dedicated team. Finally, in late 1957, after enduring 2 years under Shockley's leadership, 8 talented engineers chose to resign from his team. These 8 engineers are famously known as the treacherous 8. After leaving Shockley, these 8 engineers established Fairchild Semiconductor and continued work on silicon-based semiconductors. The newly founded Fairchild Semiconductor soon grew into a leader in the semiconductor industry and forced other companies to switch from germanium to silicon. And this is how the silicon revolution actually took off in the semiconductor industry. The success of Fairchild Semiconductor did not last long as well. Like Shockley's lab, Fairchild Semiconductor too faced management problems. For the first time in 1967, it became unprofitable and lost ground to its competitors. Many employees left the company either to join the other semiconductor labs or to start their own companies. In 1968, Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce from the treacherous 8 left Fairchild Semiconductor and established Intel, which became one of the largest semiconductor chip manufacturers and the first company to produce microprocessor. AMD, another major player in the semiconductor industry, is also one of the companies founded by the former employees of Fairchild Semiconductor. In addition to Intel and AMD, there are many other companies that had their roots in Fairchild Semiconductor. These spin-off companies are known as Fairchildren. Santa Clara Valley soon became home to dozens of companies working on silicon-based semiconductors, and it became the major source of revenue and employment for the area. The rise of personal computers and mobile phones in the 1990s only added to the growth of these companies. All the success that these companies enjoyed in silicon-based semiconductors would not have been possible if Shockley had not initiated work on silicon transistors. Even though Shockley failed to commercialize his work, much of the later innovations in silicon transistors were based on his research. For this, William Shockley, along with Frederick Torman, is credited as being the father of Silicon Valley. Even though Shockley's lab does not exist anymore, there are still reminders like a sign and a plaque that serve as a tribute to the genius of William Shockley. Now you know the two incredible minds that sowed the seeds of the tech revolution that would last for many years to come. Let's get back into the story of how the name Silicon Valley came into existence. Despite the thriving silicon chip industry, the name Silicon Valley first came up only in 1971, nearly after 20 years of the region's significant technological advancements and the establishment of numerous semiconductor companies. There is still no clue about who actually came up with the name Silicon Valley, but the credit for popularizing the name goes to Don Hoffler, who was a technology news reporter for Electronic News. It is said that Hoffler heard the term used at a launch from a marketer who referred to the Santa Clara Valley as Silicon Valley. Over time, Hoffler authored a series of articles focusing on the thriving silicon chip industry in the valley, and each article bore the title Silicon Valley, USA. Through these writings, Hoffler captured the essence of the region's technological advancements and the remarkable growth of the semiconductor industry, and this is how the name is stuck. The seed of innovation that sprouted from the Stanford University and was propelled further by the semiconductor industry in Silicon Valley is still thriving and continues to shape the technological landscape of the whole world. Thanks to the world-renowned companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, Tesla and others, the region's legacy of innovation continues to shape the world we live in. As technology continues to evolve and new frontiers emerge, Silicon Valley still remains at the forefront, driving progress and shaping the future. This much for the Silicon Valley saga. If you are curious about similar kind of stories, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you won't miss the future stories. Once again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.